Who the heck is my ideal client? Why do I need to know local market research anyway? It doesn't impact my profits that much. Does it? Honey, yes. I'm going to tell you why you need to know your ideal customer. I'm going to tell you why you need to know your local market. And I'm going to tell you how those two things are going to impact your profits. So stay tuned. Hello, my lovely furniture flipping friends. I am Grace Lauer. I'm with Uniquely Grace Designs and the Furniture Refinishing Academy. This is part 4 of my series, How to Be Out Your Competition. And we are talking today about local market research and ideal clients. Okay. This is a good one, so buckle up. Before we really dive into this, I want to ask you to please give this video a thumbs up. If you clicked on it, you need this information, so make sure you give me a like. Also, please subscribe to my channel for further video notifications as more come out. And I want to hear from you. I need to know how this video helped you. I need to know what you learned from this video, and I need to know what you want to learn in future videos. So please communicate with me, connect with me, become my friend, make a comment below, and let's get started. First and foremost, we need to know, what are we doing here as a business, people? Are we treating it as a hobby? Are we treating it as a business? If you want to make money as a business, then you need to treat it as a business, okay? So somebody who has a business who does what we do is what? Alexa, what's an entrepreneur?
According to Wikipedia, entrepreneurship is the creation or extraction of value. With this definition, entrepreneurship is viewed as change, generally entailing risk beyond what is normally encountered in starting a business, which may include other values than simply economic ones.
Interesting.
Wow! My day just went from great to absolutely perfect.
Because I told her she was interesting. Okay, let's try this again. Alexa, what's the definition of an entrepreneur?
As a noun, entrepreneur can have a couple meanings. 1. A person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. 2. An employer of productive labor, contractor.
Exactly. Okay, so this sums it up. We are entrepreneurs, okay? We are people who are starting out a business at a high risk, some higher risk than others. Depending on how fast we dive in, we are a higher risk taker than the furniture finisher next to us, right? But we are starting our businesses. We want to treat it like a business, but guess what? It's not just furniture flipping and refinishing that makes it a business. It's not. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your ideal client. Some of you, this is the first time you've ever heard of ideal clients. So what you're going to need to know about this ideal client of yours, first of all, she's real, but she's not real. Okay, you're making an avatar or a profile of an idea of who you want to sell to. So your ideal client is going to be a person that will buy your stuff. Who is that? Those are the questions you need to ask, but in great detail. I have a mini course that goes over all of this, so I'm not going to go into the details on how to discover that person, but you need to know who it is, because if you're not creating for that ideal client, then you're creating for yourself. And who is your ideal client? Generally, it's somebody who wants to have a beautiful home. It's somebody who has money to purchase things, and it's somebody who you can connect with, right? Because people love to buy from people they connect with. You want your ideal client to love you so much that they shout your name, your business, and your contact information from the rooftops to their friends. And those people who are reaching out to you saying, oh my gosh, your work is beautiful, but they still don't purchase from you, ask if you can be put on a mailing list or invite them to your Facebook business page, or maybe to like your Facebook Marketplace consumer profile, or any number of things, Instagram, or whatever you prefer to share your items on the most. have them join or follow you there. So like, I understand that this might not be in your price point right now, but here is how we can connect with one another and you can keep in touch with me. Once you get that ideal client down and you pinpointed who that is and you've given her a name in your head, when you're painting, you're gonna be like, does Susie like this type of decor? Is this Susie? We can narrow it down by style even and have ideal clients for different types of furniture you might refinish, as long as they're extremely different types of styles. Okay, but those are the people you want to speak to in your listings. Those are the people you want to communicate with on their level, with their lingo, and you want to bring them into the fold and let them follow you and become loyal customers, because not everybody buys from random people very first time they meet them. Sometimes they need to see their work over and over to make sure that they trust them enough to make beautiful, long-lasting pieces. That is who your ideal client is. I actually have a mini course that goes over creating your ideal client profile, as well as what we're going to talk about next, which is local market research. Yay! This is so good. I can't wait to share with you. A lot of problems with furniture refinishers these days is we really don't take ourselves seriously. We start off flipping for ourselves, or we start off refinishing for our friends, and we wind up doing it as a hobby. And we might sell one here or sell one there. And eventually we love it and we kind of want to do it as a business. So we just up our production and call it a business. But the problem with that is upping your production and just pumping out more pieces does not mean you're running your business wisely. It does not even mean you're running a business. It just means you're painting more, quite honestly. So here is one major step that a lot of furniture refinishers miss: local market research. Also apply these things if you're on a national market, selling on Etsy, or wherever platform you're selling it on. However, most of us sell locally, so I'm going to speak to that today. Okay, so market research. Why do we need market research? Let's try this. See if she cooperates this time. Alexa, what's the definition of market research?
Market research is usually defined as the gathering and studying of data relating to consumer preferences, purchasing power, etc., especially prior to introducing a product on the market.
So a couple keywords in there. Prior to producing your product, you need to know what your local market is doing. What are your local market sales? What's happening? What's selling? What's not selling? What's popular? What's not popular? So a couple other things I want to extract from that description: customer preference and customer purchasing or buying power. Those two things pretty much go hand in hand. As a furniture refinisher, we tend to like to do the things we like to do. We're artists. We like to express ourselves. You can do that and find a way to do that and be satisfied finishing your pieces, but do it in a way that is the customer's preference. Then you can successfully create styles that are not usually in your little box or world, and you can appeal to the customer preferences of your local area. Now, the customer buying power or the customer purchasing power, that is connected to the customer preference in a way that means basically they're not going to buy what they don't prefer. So you want to make sure that you are catering in a way to your local market and to interior design trends. In your local market or selling areas, you are going to have a style that's kind of been around for a while. People still love it. It's heavily influenced by culture or tradition, and you're going to need to figure that out. But you'll also have, especially with the younger crowd that are on social media, Pinterest, online a lot, you're going to have the influences from social media influencers as well as people on HGTV and things like that. And so that's why farmhouse has been so heavily predominant, and everyone wants a piece of farmhouse because of the hype around it. This everyone has to have it trend is fading, and they're moving on to things like boho and mid-century modern redos. So that is going to be more of your local and younger crowd following trends. And then you'll have your traditional local styles as well. And those are kind of the things that you want to hone in on for your customer preference. The other thing I want to take away from that definition is it's your consumers' buying power, okay? So a lot of us, and I did the same mistake too, trust me, you are not alone. The same mistake. A lot of us will paint for ourselves. We paint colors we like, or we paint styles we like, or we are just feeling like painting something white because it sells. But not just white pieces are selling. There's way more to it, and you can stand out from the crowd if you know your local market. Before we move on, if you like this content, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and make sure you click the bell notifications so that you constantly get updated every time I upload a new video with more information for you to learn from. And if you want to hear about a new topic, please leave a comment below and let me know what topic is the one you need most so I can make sure I cater my content to you specifically. I'm not going to talk about conducting local market research because my mini course has that. It's only $27. I think y'all can afford that. And I promise you, if you like that and you go to the larger course, I'll give you that $27 back. The Designer DIY Framework is my full course. So Designer DIY Framework is the process that I use as a trained interior designer to dissect interior design styles and create pieces that are going to sell in my local market for the styles that are popular in my area. Back to local market research. Okay, I say local market, but ideally it's your selling market. All right, so I'm a military spouse. I lived coast to coast and overseas, and every time I move, I have to rediscover my market. I've had to reboot my business multiple times as far as local markets go. And I know a thing or two about rediscovering local markets, okay? I've done it a few times, all right? It's not necessarily a radius from your house. That's your local market. Might be your delivery range, but it's not your local market. Your local market is where you want to sell your items. Okay, so I'm gonna give an example when I lived in South Carolina. I lived in Columbia, which is inland. It's about 2 to 2.5 hours from the coast. I was selling okay, but I wasn't selling very high. And I wasn't getting, it took me forever to sell anything generic and basic that everybody should use in their home that was just simple and people should love it no matter what. So I started looking around a little bit about where was the money. Okay, bottom line, where is the money? Yes, there's some in Columbia. Yes, there's local areas around there that I did sell to. But where I got my most bang for my buck was marketing to places like Myrtle Beach and Charleston. Now, those were 2 and 2.5 hours away from my house. Learning what the local market was there and then producing items that fit that style and the demand and the uniqueness and it became higher end, right? So not only now I'm spending only another hour or two per piece to make it unique, which isn't much overall, and then I'm selling it for 2 to 3 times what I could in Columbia, and I'm charging for delivery, okay? So now I'm making even more money by quadrupling my money by choosing the market that I could deliver to and a market that I needed to sell in. Yes, I still sold in Columbia, but my big money-making ticket items where I was profiting like $100 an hour versus like 30 on some items were being delivered to the coast. The market you want to sell in is what I'm talking about here. Yes, it's local. Usually it's within driving distance. So knowing where those places is where your research needs to be focused on. A research mini course that I sell goes over how specifically to use Facebook Marketplace in creating your local market research. However, I'm going to give you a few tips right now that are outside of that. Number one, in Facebook as well, join design groups for that local area. So it might be like home design and interior design groups. So it might be like San Antonio home decor and design, or whatever the name of the group is, okay? Those are the groups you want to join. So this will give you an insider's tip on what styles people are really looking for in that area. So you want to dive in to those local areas, and you want to join in some of those groups to help give you an idea of what is really going on. What are people posting there? Oh, this is the room I just finished, blah, blah, blah. Don't you just love it? And see what that design style really is, okay? That might be where you start to identify some of your ideal clients too. You may not be able to sell in those groups, but it'll give you the knowledge you need to really create for those types of people. I tell you, if they're hiring an interior designer, or if they're even designing themselves, but they're putting the money into doing it, they're the people who you want to sell to, because they have the money to purchase your items at a decent price, so you're making good profits, okay? I want you to think about something really quick. When you're in a Facebook group for furniture refinishers, and they are all over the world, if you ask a simple question like, what's selling for you? You're not going to get the answer you need for you to begin to create those products that sell for you in your local area, okay? So it's very important that though we need to watch our colleagues and we need to see what's going on, what works for them on the coast of Carolinas is not going to work for the person who's sitting in San Antonio, Texas, okay? You want to look at your colleagues, but more for their techniques and how they're selling versus what they're selling, okay? Like, how are they taking their photos? How are they listing their items that are selling quickly? Those kinds of questions are what you need to ask for people who are all across the world and in these massive groups that you can be in furniture refinishing on Facebook. So if you're going to do research on how to deal with your listings, how to take your photographs, things like that, by far, please ask in those groups, because it's wonderful information. So getting to know your local market and getting to know your ideal customer before you create is going to impact your profits. How? If I just painted these plain white and black and called it a day and put it on Facebook saying, I'm done, it was a great transformation, I actually really love it, and I did, and it works well for me, I'm not niching down enough to get the higher end prices. Creating a niche for yourself can do two things. There's some pros and cons. One, it's going to get you higher money, more profit, right? Two, it could take just a little bit longer to sell. So if you might have a piece for a couple of weeks before it sells, this might actually take a month before it sells. It's got a skull on it, for goodness sakes. So it may take a month for it to sell, or it may not. However, having that niche is going to be well worth your cost. So if I was just to leave it like this, even without the antiquing and the distressing, and just do it plain, I could probably sell this set for maybe $150 to maybe $175 if I was lucky in a good area, or maybe $200 in a good area. So you're looking at $200, okay? Best case scenario. With some antiquing and some distressing, because that's what is loved around here, I now have a more unique item. I actually put some leather handles on it, things like that that are a little bit more rustic for Texas. And then on the tops, I added a longhorn skull. And the longhorn skull is definitely something not everybody wants in their house. It's very niche, whatever. It's very niche down, okay? However, I know that the people who are going to buy this actually have the money to purchase it, first of all. So the whole economy thing isn't a big impact on them. Still okay for them to spend money on tables, right? So now instead of this, for $200, this set, I'm actually going to quadruple or more the price point on here. So I'm asking at a higher end level, but once this finds the right customer, even if it takes twice as long, I just made 4 times the money for twice as long, if that. The last few I've sold, or the last items I've sold that have been very Texan have flown off the shelves. So we'll see how this one does. But 4 times as much money as I could have gotten if I flipped them quickly. I'm a fan of working smarter, not harder. So I would prefer to put a lot more effort into a piece and get paid a lot more for it than to put out punch and punch and punch and punch out all these different basic pieces of furniture. It works for some people. Some people have it set up, they have room to set it up and have this production line and have a bunch of stuff in storage that they need to refinish and have a bunch of space of storage of the items that are needing to be sold, and they just pump them out and it works for them, and that's great. Everybody refinishes differently, so I'm not saying that is wrong. If you're making a great income at it and it's working for you, continue to do that. For me, it's a little different. I don't have the space to do all that, so I have to be wiser with my time and make every piece count for as much profit as possible. Knowing your local market, knowing your ideal client can quadruple your income per piece, your profit per piece. Okay, so those are just some basic tip of the iceberg tips on why you should know your ideal customer and why you should know your local market and how that impacts your profits. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. Again, my name is Grace Lauer. I'm with Uniquely Grace Designs and the Furniture Refinishing Academy. You are listening to Don't Drink the Paint Water podcast. This is the 4th part of a series on how to be out your competition in furniture refinishing. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you learned some great tips, and I'm going to drop the link below for the course that I was discussing earlier. I'll do them both. Actually, I'll do the Leveraging Facebook Marketplace for market research, and I'll do the designer DIY framework for you. Before we leave, I want to ask you one more time, please subscribe, click the little bell button so that you can follow all my new videos that come out. And please make sure you give me a like and a comment below if you're interested in a specific topic, or if you really did enjoy this or want to discuss this topic more, I am happy to do so in the comments. Thank you so much. Remember, you've got this and I've got you. Thank you. Bye-bye.